I'm going to review some of the baits that I use. So, this bag I got for subscribing to Bassmaster magazine. I used to use a tackle box, but this one's so easy. I just carry it around my back. I have both hands free, walking around. When I catch something, or want to change bait, I just swing it around and bring it out. So, the things I use the most are the Yamamoto Swim Senkos, 5-inch swim bait, black, no flake. These are my go-to bait. They're awesome. And I have another bag with those same bait, but they get cut up. So after they get torn, I can take the top maybe ½ inch off and recycle them. You can do that 2 times. On a hook, you can do it on a jig. It doesn't matter. The fish, they eat them just the same, whether they're long or short. The longer ones cast further, so if you're on shore, it's a factor. These jigs I use, they're tungsten. They're Keitech, Keitech, tungsten rubber jigs. Because in Massachusetts, they outlawed lead. Like last year, starting in 2012, they outlawed lead under 1 ounce. So these are 1/4 ounce swim jigs. They have a skirt and a weed guard. I can take the skirt off if I want, and I usually have one with the skirt, and then I have one without it. And you can put the Swim Senko right on it, like that. Okay? These are great. They sink down if you want to fish a little bit deeper, or if the fish want a little different presentation. The skirt's bulkier bait. It's great for in the weeds. My hooks, Gamakatsu 3.0 offset round worm hook. That's all I use. The Gerber Crucial knife. It's got 1 hand opening, which I think is crucial. Needle nose for deeply hooked fish. It's got these pinch cutters, which a lot of times on multi-tools don't work good, but these ones work perfectly, okay? So there, I eliminated 3 tools and combined them into 1 tool. So I got pliers, cutters, and my knife. And you can also open up the knife with 1 hand while the pliers are open. And it's got some other tools on it too, bottle opener, both types of screwdrivers. Awesome tool. I usually keep that in my pocket. I keep it in the bag, but I'll put it in my pocket when I'm fishing so that I can access it easily. So some of the other baits I have with me that I don't necessarily... Actually, I'll show you this. The lure holder is awesome. I reviewed it in another video. You can put lures in here while on your fishing rod while storing and carrying so nothing gets hooked. Fishing license. It used to be you had to show it. Now you don't. You don't have to have it on display, like on your hat or in a holder pinned to your shirt, for example. You don't have to anymore in Massachusetts. So I keep it in my bag. I have my scale and grabbers, very handy, especially for toothy pickerel. What are these? Alright. These are Bass Pro Shop floating worms. They're like 5 or 6 inches. They're the methiolate color. They look similar, I think, in the water closest that I could find to natural colored worms. They're pretty bright orange, but fish are colorblind, I think, or mostly colorblind. I don't know. So in the water, they're easy to see, and I don't think it matters too much as far as the fish is concerned. These work pretty good. Again, I put these on the same hook. Everything that I've shown you goes on the same hook, except the jig. The jig has its own hook. Okay, so I don't have to change up hooks too much. These are really interesting right here. These are Bass Pro Shop. They're called beaver bugs. They look like this. Okay, they have a skirt. They have arms and a body. You can cut the arms off to make it a tube-like bait. You can cut the skirt off to make it like a creature-like bait, similar to a crawdad. Or you can just fish it like it is for just a really bulky creature. These work pretty good. I might try them today. So again, that goes on the same 3/0 hook that I used, that I basically just leave on that rod. A lot of times I carry 2 rods if I'm in my boat. One has the jig on it, and I can put any one of these plastics on the jig, and the other one just has the worm hook, and I can put any one of the plastics on the worm hook. These are brand new. I haven't tried these yet. The Zoom Magnum Trick Black, all black. You know, people think the black can't be seen as well by the fish, and on the bottom it's probably true. But when you go weightless, the worm isn't on the bottom. It sinks very slow. Most of the time it's on the top. So if you think about it, when fish are looking up at it, it hasn't hit the bottom yet. The fish look up at it and it's black. It contrasts the sky the best, so it's probably the easiest to be seen. So these are really bulky. There's 8 in a pack. They're not that expensive. They're probably $4 a pack. And I don't know, they're pretty big, which is what I wanted, because the bigger the bait, the bigger the fish you're going to catch. You might not catch as many, but you'll catch big ones. Because a small one will be less likely to swallow this. Although you'd be surprised what a small fish can swallow. I mean, a fish that's less than the length of this lure will swallow this. But again, it's big enough that you'll catch more bigger fish with it. So I'm going to try these out. These are something that I've used so long, for decades. The bag, it's not the right bag, I put them in different bags. These are Culprit Original. I think they're 7-inch, 7.5 inch maybe. Culprit Original worms. They're red and black, no flake, ribbon tail, okay? Awesome. They're not as heavy as the Senko, so they don't cast as far. So you can put a slip weight on there, or put them on the jig. Or if you're in a boat, you can just put them on the hook by itself, and they won't cast as far. But if you're on a boat, it doesn't matter. You can go wherever you want. These are awesome. I've caught hundreds of fish on these. Very inexpensive too. You can get like a 20-pack for $3.50. Wow, there's a good-sized fish right there in the water. I should probably try and catch him. I think I'm gonna. I got this all rigged up. I'm gonna just throw a line in and see if I can get him. No, he's not interested. Alright, so anyway. While I have this rod and reel out, I've described this rod before. It's a collapsible Bass Pro Shop, 6'6" medium rod. Good. This reel, I haven't yet. It's a spinning reel, okay? It's a Shimano Sonora. It's a $50 reel. It's like 6-to-1 ratio, so you can power fish effectively. Reel in quickly. It's very smooth. It has a lot of ball bearings. It's a quality rod and reel. It's a 2500 size. Instant anti-reverse, which means effective hook setting. I don't know what else I can say about it. It's a great rod and reel. It's been reliable for me for years. I like it a lot. So. Alright, I use the swim Senko a lot, as I mentioned. The regular Senko is a staple. It's probably one of the most popular baits there is. Alright, the difference between the swim Senko and the regular Senko is there's no tail. And actually, these are bigger ones than I normally use. These are the 6-inch ones. A lot of times I use 5-inch, but I wanted to go bigger. So I carry both, the 5 and the 6. The difference between the swim Senko and the regular Senko is there's no swim tail. So they cast further because they're more aerodynamic. They're more weedless because they're more hydrodynamic without that tail. They don't get caught up in weeds, and they slide through the water. They slide through everything easier, including the water. And the tail doesn't get ripped off much on hook sets, where the other tail on the swim Senko, since it's got that swim tail, can get ripped off if a fish just bites the end of it and you feel it and you set it. This doesn't happen here. It slides out. So you don't really go through as many. It might be a little bit more durable. And actually, these aren't really, technically, these aren't the real Yamamoto Senkos. I'll explain something here. When I buy the Swim Senko, I buy the real Yamamoto Swim Senko. They're expensive. They're like 70 cents each. You get a bag of 20 for like $7. On eBay, you can get more of them for cheaper. That's what I do. I buy them in bulk there. The regular Senko, I don't buy Yamamoto Senko. I buy something called Bass Pro Stickos. They work just as well, and in fact even better. They catch just as many fish, and they're more durable. They seem to last longer, and they're so much less expensive. You can buy a bag of, I think, 20 for around $4, and they have sales at Bass Pro Shops. So these are the big ones, the 6-inch ones, but you can buy the 5-inch ones. They're called Bass Pro Stickos. Alright, these are awesome. The Zoom Super Flukes, 5-inch. I buy, before I go on, the Stickos, the color that I get is dark melon. I like it. A lot of people use that kind of color, like watermelon seed, dark melon. I like black. They didn't have black in these, they have dark melon. It's close to black. It's like a watermelon seed. It's very popular. So, the Zoom Super Fluke 5-inch, most weedless bait I've ever tried. You can get these, the color I use is Arkansas Shiner. There's also baby bass color that's very similar. I like to use baits when these look like fish that is similar to the real fish. You imitate the real fish. So it's dark on the top, like green, and light on the bottom. Okay? They have a little tail on them, and they're very durable. They're hard plastic. They're not hard plastic, but they're harder. They're not as soft as the Stickos and Swim Senkos. Put them on the same hook. You rig them the same way. These are so weedless, way more weedless than the Swim Senko and the regular Senko, or the Sticko. This is the Bass Pro Sticko, which is the imitation Senko. In pads, I only use these in pads really, or right on the edges of pads. But you can go right through the middle of pads with this, unlike any other bait except maybe a frog, but this hookup on this is much better, so I use this. Bass and pickerel both hit it. Swim this really slow, it sinks extremely slowly. So you can let it sit and sink slow, or you can kind of jerk it along the top. You can wag the dog with it, jerking it so it goes back and forth. I've been using this bait for a long time. In the weeds, it's the go-to bait. If you find that the fish are in the lily pads, the Zoom Super Fluke 5-inch is the one to use. Again, it goes on the 3/0 hook. Alright, here I have small rattles. They're just little glass hollow tubes with metal balls in them that rattle. If you feel like having a little bit of extra bass catching fun, you can slide these. They have a pointy tip. Slide them right into the rubber. That's everything I have right here. In that side, oh, you know, I gotta mention these. When I was at Farm Pond the other day, I ran into this kid. He had a John boat. I asked him if he wanted to demo these on camera, but he wasn't that interested, so that was fine. But he told me a story about when he caught an 8-pounder at Farm Pond. He wanted to bring it home to stuff and mount it as a trophy. Nowadays, they make a plastic replica of the fish, but back then, not that long ago, you bring the fish home and they'd actually stuff and mount that fish and you put it on your wall. 8-pounder is huge, especially in New England. So he left Farm Pond with the fish, carrying it down the street. A lady stopped and was very interested, said, "Do you want to do an interview? That's a huge fish." The guy that owns the radio station right next to Farm Pond, Alex Langer, is an ex-pro fisherman, and he invented his own bait, and he's always interested in hearing stories about fish, and he might want to interview, so if you want to, come in, we'll do an interview. So he went in and did a radio interview. Well, the guy made this bait called Roto Tail, okay? And this is what it looks like. It comes in different pieces. So there's these plastic pieces that insert into the bait. There's a tail which you can rip off different sections to make it the length that you want. And then there's the head, which is here. Now I have one already built the kid that was there talking to me about it made one for me just to show me, and he gave me a couple of these. So this is one that it's built, what it looks like when it's built, and it's called rototail because the tail spins 360 degrees, okay, like this. So it kind of acts like, in a sense, a spinner blade. It spins like a blade, and it also acts like a worm at the same time, and I'll show you. So the head that I showed you before is this piece, and then these plastic pieces, you take two of them and you put them together, and you slide it in the head, and you cut the tail to the desired length, slide it in the tail, and then you put it on that same hook that I already have, okay? And now, what I'm going to do is I'll put one in the water. We'll do a little product demonstration just to see this lure in action. And this might help you kind of learn how to rig it up for those of you that are learning still. When I rig a worm up, I put it through here, bring it back out, maybe 3/8, half an inch, bring it up here to the offset section, okay? I mark it here with my thumb where I think it's going to go through, alright, and then I put it through there. And then I stick it just so it's still inside the plastic but ready to go, okay? So now, this thing's ready to go, and it's going to spin, theoretically, like this. We're going to see it in action right now. This is a good spot to sight fish. I'm up higher, the sun's out, it's not shady. And you can see, I let it sink down a little bit and then pull it. See that spin around? Look, fish are already coming over to check it out. That little fish is very interested in that.